Rosenthal with the Fran Campbell Team at Next Look at the Ozarks, and today we have our guest Marissa Kessler with Integrity Title Solutions, and we're going to talk about title insurance and why you should get it and what it means for you. So, Marissa, do you want to introduce yourself tell about yourself a little bit?
So I'm with Integrity Title. I've been there for about 18 years now, I think. So we've seen lots of things that you might not expect on, most times it doesn't come up, but there's always that chance that something funky is going to come back in the title work that has to be cleared up, and you see reasons why title insurance is a good thing to have. So,
okay. Do you want to start out by telling us a little bit about what a title company does? So in Missouri, we use title companies. In other states, they use attorneys or they have abstracts. So tell us what title company does here.
So we issue title insurance policies is the end goal of what we do. So to start with that, once we get a contract or an order, we do a thorough title search of the property through the county records. I think on residential property, we go back 30 years or 40 maybe, and then on commercial, we go back 100 years. And so then someone then examines through all of those searches to see anything that would have been missed in the chain of title, make sure the legal descriptions are correct, just everything that we then put onto our title commitment. So, and then the title commitment is like the Schedule A has our proposed insured, the buyer, purchase price, the lender, the loan amount, because that's what their policy is going to be. And then it has our title requirements, which is the Schedule B, Section 1. And it has, so that's anything that we're going to require in order to issue free and clear title insurance on the property. And then finally, the exceptions. So anything that's of record, plats, restrictions, easements, road, well, sewer agreements, anything like that that's on title would be all the exceptions on the final title policy.
Okay. So what does title insurance do for me? Like why would I even buy title insurance?
So title insurance covers title defects to the property. So it's just ensuring that you have free and clear title to the property, that someone else can't come and claim any type of ownership in that property. So deeds of trust, mortgages that are on a property. And specifically, so if someone is selling their property and maybe there is a prior owner's deed of trust that has not been released, sometimes it's as simple as calling the bank and having them file the release. Sometimes it's not that simple. It's either a bank that maybe isn't in business anymore, or it's a big national bank that it's going to just be a really hassle to get the release. But if that owner has title insurance, then more often than not, we could go back to that underwriter and say, hey, we need a letter of indemnity, and then they'll provide that because they've already insured it. So then in return, we would be able to insure over that as well.
Okay.
So let's see.
Do you ever see issues like maybe if someone has a second mortgage and it didn't get paid off, or maybe a home equity line of credit or something?
Every
like
once
that?
in a while, yes.
Okay.
And so, yep. And
so that would still be a lien against the property?
It would be a lien against the property until it's released. But depending on the situation, sometimes we can insure over it based on the current title insurance policy. Marital issues. So if someone takes title as husband and wife and maybe then only one of them transferred the property out, we have to find out why that happened. Was there a death? In the case, documentation would have to be recorded for that, so there's not a break in the chain of title. Or if they were divorced, we might have to see a copy of the divorce decree to make sure that that party was awarded the property. Tax liens. Tax liens, if someone has a tax lien filed on them, that lien then attaches to all real estate property that they own. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. So
if they had a tax lien on say they haven't paid their real estate taxes
and not necessarily even real estate taxes, federal tax liens,
Oh,
like
okay.
IRS liens,
Okay.
things of that nature.
So if they have a property in St. Louis and a property here at the lake, it's going to attach to both properties?
Yep. So whatever county the lien is filed in, it would attach to any real estate property that they own there. Sometimes court judgments can be attached to property, so those sometimes have to be cleared up. Bankruptcies, if we search bankruptcy on buyers and sellers, and if anyone is in active bankruptcy, sometimes we have to have additional requirements for that. Collector's deeds, like tax sale properties, sometimes those are not insurable from a title company standpoint after so many years, because there's like a statute of limitations and just different requirements that we have to have for those types of properties. So those are kind of like more normal ones. But then sometimes there's even unknown defects, such as like forged signatures on deeds or unknown heirs that might come up from a relative's property, just different things like that no one would even know about, but that's still covered under title insurance policies.
So I see that if I have a loan on my title insurance policy, it says owner's policy and then lender's policy. What's the difference between that, and why do I have to pay for two policies?
So the owner's title insurance policy, that is the buyer's. That's what they're going to have for their owner's policy, and that's good for as long as they own the property. So, and then the lender, anytime they get a loan on the property, the lender is going to require title insurance for their interest as well. And that policy is good as long for the life of the loan. So if they refinance, then the new lender is going to require a whole new policy for that. So that could be issued multiple times on the same property, but the owner's policy is just one time to each owner.
Okay. Do you have an attorney on staff, or how? Because like I said, other states use attorneys, and I know your documents are legal documents.
Right.
How do you prepare those?
And we do, yes. We have an attorney that we go to, as well as legal counsel on our underwriting. So if we have any questions or need legal documents, then yes, we do have an attorney that we can go to for that.
What are some other services that a title company provides?
So our company, we can do 1031 exchanges. We can act as qualified intermediary for that if someone wants to do a tax deferred exchange. We can do construction dispersing so that we obtain lien waivers and things all through the construction process.
So, as a buyer or seller, we've closed and we're done. But what does a title company have to do after everybody's signed the documents and they've left on their happy way?
Well, so after that, after the closing fact, then we record the deeds, of course. And then once the recording is done, then the final title policy would be issued, removing, making sure all of those requirements were met at closing, which generally, the closer does that ahead of time. But yeah, and then the policy is issued. And then sometimes, like, especially if there's a lender involved, they'll want like an update search after that fact just to make sure there's nothing new out there for that. But
And so your company handles dispersing, like, if I have a loan, paying off the loan, and what about my taxes and assessments and
So anything that was collected at closing, any invoices, insurance, commission checks, payoffs, yes, all of those are sent immediately following the closing. Payoffs are generally wired the same day. Seller proceeds, things like that, and then and other things are mailed out.
So are there things that my title insurance would not cover?
So there are certain aspects that the owner's policy of title insurance would not automatically cover. Survey coverage is one of those things. So in order for us to provide survey coverage, which is like boundary encroachments, boundary disputes, anything like that, we would require a complete survey showing any structures in relation to the lot line, so we can 100% confirm that there are no encroachments before we issue that coverage.
Okay.
Now that's on the owner's policy. Now on a loan policy, they require that coverage, and so we do offer it on the lender's policy just with a survey affidavit. But for the owner's policy, we do require a full survey for that.
Okay.
Another thing is mechanics lien coverage. So that's not generally just given on any owner's policy either. And in fact, on new construction, there are certain requirements that have to be met in order to provide that coverage, even to a lender. And I think a lot of builders don't even realize, but there's a document, there's new statutes, and it's not really new anymore, but where there's a document that can be filed called a notice of intended sale. And so once that's filed, it has to be a record for 45 days prior to closing. And that just gives anyone doing work on the property notice that it has been filed. And then if someone wanted to, like a contractor doing work, they could then file their notice of rights saying that they have an interest in that, they have done work. So then we would have to contact them, make sure that they have been paid in full and get lien waivers prior to closing. Otherwise, if there's nothing filed other than that notice of intended sale within the 45-day period, then no one can come back against the property itself. So they could go maybe against the builder or whatever, but the property is free and clear. So that's the preferred method for mechanics lien coverage. Every once in a while, we can rely on lien waivers and budget and things like that the lender might have too. But that's the requirement generally, is that notice of intended sale document.
So if the builder didn't file the notice of intended sale, and I bought a house and a contractor comes to me, it's not my responsibility. It goes back to the
as long as that notice of intended sale was filed, that's correct. Yep, they can't file a mechanics lien once that's done.
Okay.
Yep. And then another thing that lenders generally require, so it's not so much on an owner's policy, but like whenever there's a manufactured home on a property, there's additional requirements that have to be met for that. It has to be converted to real estate property at the state level, not just like an affidavit filed with the county. That does have to be done too.
So don't they say it has to be affixed to the property?
Yes.
It's like a motor vehicle title.
That
you
is,
can drive it off.
and generally those are assessed as personal property. So once you convert this at the DMV to real estate, you're essentially giving up your title. You're turning the title over if you have one, and then it becomes real estate property.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Marissa, and telling us a little bit about title insurance and what Integrity Title can do. At the end of this video, we will have your contact information if anyone has any additional questions.
Great, sounds good. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.